It took everything in me to not be like, Brianna's door slapped my hand.
Okay, red blazer. And then they would just show it closer. And I was like, Welcome back to Balanced Sports, a show where we like to level the playing field of sports coverage across the gender spectrum. First of all, did that. I'm Hunter.
Sorry. I'm Jewelz.
And we are gonna talk about the opening week of the WNBA. Jewelz, we've had quite the unique experience of that. What were your takeaways from opening week? I'm so happy the basketball's back.
We can't tell. Super exciting. It was great. I mean, we'll talk a little later about our experience, which was just epic and memorable. And, you know, I may or may not have fallen in love. It was really awesome. It was great to have WNBA on our televisions and just lots of games and lots of exciting play. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, really excited to talk about that before you get the cease and desist from the Storms. I said cease and desist.
Both are true. They're like, excuse me, no, you're on the never again list.
All right, where would you like to begin?
Let's review our predictions because we said some things last week. And so let's see what them things said that we got right.
All right. Well, for me, it's not going to look too pretty. The first game was Indiana at Washington. Who did you pick?
I picked Washington.
I picked Washington. Washington came away with the 84-70 victory over Indiana. Boom. 1-0.
1 to us.
We started the season right. I went wrong from there. Next game was LA versus Chicago. It went to overtime. Chicago was gassed. They're missing several people. Chicago lost. We now 1-1.
Yes, we both picked Chicago to win. That was a surprise.
I was happy that we mixed it up here because at least one of us was going to get a win and we'd have a better record. But you correctly identified the Las Vegas Aces as the victors over the Phoenix Mercury.
Whoop, 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 whoop for me.
How's it feel to be right?
It feels really, really wonderful. I'd like to thank the Academy and my mom.
And then we have Seattle was victorious over Minnesota.
Yes, we both predicted that. How's it feel to be back in the winners column?
It feels good because I would have hated to end the first week sub 500. So my record sits at 2-2. You, meanwhile, sitting pretty over here at 3-1. Wow, that's our first weekend. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So we ended with pretty good records. You know, I'm 500. You're 3-1. What were some of your takeaways from that opening day?
I was really pleasantly surprised with the LA Sparks. They came away from the weekend 2-0, and I feel like they're showing that they put it together a little sooner than I thought. And so I thought that was really great. Cam Beige had a great weekend. I think she was the leading scorer.
Their opening night game, Jordan Canada led them in points with 21, but Liz was right there behind. In their second game, she did lead them in stats. Liz Cam Beige did lead them in stats. She had a pretty busy weekend outside of that as well. There was kind of some bombs dropped over in Australia, some tea spilt, if you will.
Who this weekend made an impression on you?
Jackie Young made a big impression on me, and I think that's just because my last memory of her was in the semifinals of the WNBA playoffs. You all remember it, where essentially they're like down 1, down 2. They needed to get this bucket off, and Jackie Young is running away from the ball. Like it's
a Ben Simmons type situation.
Exactly. That's a perfect description, actually. And you were like, okay, was this Bill Laimbeer's coaching? Was this like Jackie wasn't comfortable taking the shot? Was she supposed to be a distraction and go somewhere else? It just felt like she didn't know her place on that team, maybe, or like, what is my comfortability level? The Jackie Young that started off this year is scoring. She hooping. She's looking for shots. She looks really comfortable. And I'm going to attribute that, some of that to Becky Hammon. I think just coming in with a new system, being really guard friendly, wanting the pace to be sped up, wanting more shots coming from 3. I think that is only going to benefit Jackie Young's game. They're only 2 games into the season. Las Vegas, though, is starting out 2-0. Jackie Young is averaging right now 20 points a game. Again, like after 2 games.
But I mean, 20 points in 2 games is not... That needs to be stated. Like
20 points.
That's a great way to start the season.
Exactly. And last year she averaged a career high 12.2 points per game. So that's 8 above that.
Holy crap, yeah.
Talking about like early nominees for different awards, like if you were thinking most improved player, her. And then I thought Sabrina actually has had a really nice couple of games as well. This part of the year is really, I don't take it as like absolutes because we still have so many players out with injuries or out with overseas commitments. Sure. So there's some teams that have not yet to win a game that I'm like, you'll look totally different when you have your full roster.
Yeah. I will say I was encouraged to see that Washington into 2-0 and won the game Elena Deladon didn't play. She didn't even travel with the team. And so that's really promising to see that they can hold it together. They can get it done even without their superstar.
Or Tiana Hawkins or Elizabeth Williams available for that game. That was, I thought the same. I was like, wow, those are three like big guns, and see how they play. But then speaking of another team, they're playing a Minnesota team right now that's just like really, I'm going to say down and out. They don't have Nafisa Collier, who's out. They are still missing Kayla McBride overseas. So that team's going to look drastically different too. So this time of year, I think you really, if you're a team that has your full strength, maybe like the Aces, you want to like make sure you're winning these games you're supposed to. I thought that's why it was probably really important for LA to get off to this 2-0 start.
They have no excuses.
They have their whole team. Like you want to be like, we're playing the Chicago team that's missing 3 starters. We should take advantage of this.
Absolutely. Let's get a win.
Let's get this W. And they did. They pulled it out. They pulled off a big upset, I would say, in Chicago. Chicago was the reigning champs opening at home.
We both predicted them. We know that we're, really good at this. So
missing several starters, but like good for LA to come through and win that game.
Yeah. Let's move to rookies. What rookies had a great showing for you? For me, it's Ryan Howard.
Okay, go off.
I don't know. Like I don't think I realized like how
WNBA
big
ready she is.
Yeah,
it's
like
crazy.
Her body, like watching her play, I was like, man, she is here. I think she had a slow start. Like, her shots went up and they didn't fall right away, but she ended really well. And like the performance was just like, oh yeah, no, I'm here. She had a really great block, and it was like, oh, she like flexed on him. And I was like, okay, like you're entertaining.
Yeah, I feel like this is the version of Ryan Howard where you're all just like, okay, let's get the games rolling. We know that she's going to be a superstar. So the first game they played against a very young, also Dallas Wings team, Atlanta Dream came away with the victory 66-59. In that game, Ryan Howard played 35 minutes. The most of any player on that team by far. She was 4 of 15 from the field, 4 of 12 from 3. So she shot a lot of threes. Yeah. She had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks.
Boom. Like I can't, those are she had a great game.
Speaking of this Atlanta game, should we talk about that incident that happened?
Yes, we should. So Cheyenne Parker gets a flagrant 2. So she dives for the ball. There's some kicking. There's some pulling, and it just looks ugly. It looks really, really ugly.
In the words of another Atlanta queen, ugly. It's some ugly basketball.
It was not good. And wasn't a good look for Cheyenne, I would say.
There was a lot of talk about some technical fouls being called in the preseason, and people were saying, is this the league just trying to tough it up? Is this the refs just kind of setting the standard? This was a pretty cut and clear play. Like there's plays where you dive to the court and you're like, oh, maybe this was incidental. Maybe it was just a basketball play. And my takeaway from this video we just watched was you didn't have to be doing all that.
It was so much leg work that I'm like,
arms flailing that I was like, I don't know if they're going for the basketball or not.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. Luckily, no one got hurt or seriously hurt.
Kayla Thornton may think otherwise. She low key, high key, very key got kicked in the face.
In the words of my good friend Hunter, but did you die?
But did you die? Man, if someone kicks me in the face,
it's over. To me, the lowest is like spitting and then kicking.
The pumpkin on Flavor of Love of it all. I've changed from that day when pumpkin spit on her face, on New York's face. I changed. Yeah, and funny enough, the kick in the face wasn't even what got her ejected, which
is wild. Yeah, it was the pulling, the pushing that happened on the ground as well.
I'm guessing Cheyenne was really frustrated. Cheyenne, they still ain't no way to be acting, boo. Hope you enjoyed the rest of that game from the locker room.
Who was a rookie that you were very interested in seeing?
Well, I was very excited to see how Indiana Fever performed. They playing all these rookies. And there's a couple. I mean, I just think Nalissa Smith is going to play the role of like doing it. Like she's going to be that team's like the driving force on the court, getting the minutes she's getting the amount of shots. Like it's just telling me that in practice, they're like, hey, you're kind of this player for us. Like I like the progression and faith that they have in Nalissa Smith, and I think that opportunity is going to just help her get into the WNBA flow of things a lot faster. Playing all of these minutes and getting so much opportunity, you can tell that they just want her to do that. And then she's filling out other stats. I think she's playing really good defense. She's getting really good boards. And then I love Destiny Henderson scored 19 points in their second game. Yeah. And this is a Fever team that we've talked about. They are so young that they're giving all these players minutes. We were wondering what direction they're going in. It's clear that they're going in the youth direction, and I can jump on board with that. So I'm just grateful, and I love seeing the rookies on that team getting so much play and like feeling, you know, the way to get better at basketball,
Play basketball. Yeah.
Emily Inkster, I thought, has come in, and we've discussed her just kind of being this like Swiss Army knife kind of player.
Utility,
and she's long. She's been getting really good defensive minutes. Her offense, I think, is slowly catching up with that kind of like defensive chaos she brings to the floor, like a good chaos. So the Indiana Fever rookies. Yeah.
All of them.
Rookies. Those rookies impressed me a lot.
The ones in Indiana impressed you. Nice. Okay.
The Aces are somebody I could see. They're just scoring in such high volume right now. Both of their games have been either over 100 or in the 90s.
Yeah.
I could see Asia Wilson leading the league in scoring. I'm not going to say Kelsey Plum, but I think they're going to have another guard this year that's in the top 10. Just the volume of shots they're getting up, and they were rebounding really well. I mean, Derica Hamby is phenomenal. That team just looks good. They look so really good after the first weekend.
They look really, really good. And they have all their players.
They do have all their players, and they have every one of their coaches wearing that jumpsuit sweater vest jacket thing.
Most importantly.
Let's get back to the fashion draft. Becky Hammon staff.
We see you.
We saw it.
And we liked it a lot. Did she stand alone? You were here for it?
Moving on. No, I think it looks really bad.
No, are you serious?
The red. Yeah. Becky Hammon, great coach. I love the changes you've made. Y'all all don't need to be wearing this red jacket with the blazer. First of all, I have questions. Are they built in as the same piece?
I'm going to guess no.
Then this is even worse to me. A fashion faux pas. They all had to have, if this is not the same piece, have someone that ironed the mess out of that red jacket onto that blazer. And the way it looks to me is like, on TV, you're like, okay, red blazer. And then they would just show it closer. And I was like, And then the whole staff's wearing it. I didn't like that. It looks like.
How is that any different from when they all wear like, just like a red.
The matching jumpsuits that the team put out? Because that's like team gear. This was Becky being like, guys, I know this is going to sound crazy, but Old Navy has these red jackets. And I think if we all got a blazer and ironed the mess out of them onto our jackets, that we could have this like fun, just like playful coaching energy. And it didn't.
Oh my God. I cannot with you.
I didn't like it at all.
Wow. I loved it. I thought she looked fly. I hope that it is a staple. I hope that she is always wearing a hoodie and a blazer. I love it.
First 2 games she has. I'll give her this. I love a staple.
Yes.
I love when someone. But
this is what I do.
On another staple. What does the red sweater do besides a pop of color?
It's a pop of color. It's also like super sporty. It's like we don't have to be all wearing a suit and pumps. Like I can wear my sneakers. I can be comfortable. Hello. Like so many times, like I look at so many coaches on the sideline. I'm like, you don't look comfortable. She looked comfortable and like in her element. And I like that. A dressed up sporty look. And I really, really liked it because again, I am rejecting the dichotomy of it's either this or that. There's always a third option, and she brought it, and she looked great in your face.
I can't get past the red, like fleeced.
Y'all tell us in the comments below. Were you feeling Becky Hammon's outfit?
Are you team Hunter or team bad clothes?
Wow. Okay. Moving on.
Wow, that was a fun one.
That was fun. We should always a coach's review, best dresser coaches.
Oh, we should do best dressed coaches review. We were at the Storm versus Minnesota Lynx game, so we were able to see a little bit behind the scenes. We've got some hot takes for that. Jewelz, as a media member of the Seattle Storm, what was that opening day behind the scenes media coverage like?
It was really, really special. And really, I'm just super excited that we got to share that together. We went to Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, and it was a beautiful facility. Next game, I feel like we will spend some more time walking around and like really seeing it. We wanted to get to our seats and make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, the thing about experiencing something like this with your friend is you don't have to feel as stupid when both of you don't know what you're doing. But when it's just one of you, I tend to like run to the bathroom and cry in the stall until I figured out where I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to be doing. So
it was a beautiful facility. And so we got to, before the game started, we got to see them doing warm-ups, and we got to go, and we could have asked a question to the head coach from Minnesota.
We did hear the questions.
We did hear them.
Great job, those of you who were pondering things during that time. We're currently picking our jaws off the floor.
Of like, we're here, we get to come back here. So it was just cool to be back there and get that opportunity, though we didn't take it at that time. So that was really cool. I mean, to be a part of the media. I'm going to skip ahead to the end press conference where we got to ask a question to Coach Quinn and 2 athletes. And that was really exciting, and we'll review that. But I'm going to skip ahead to the point where, so we're in the media room and they have a computer there for other reporters who are on Zoom. Like, he goes, okay, Zach, you ask a question. Zach asks his question. Okay, Mike, ask your question. And then he says, okay, Holly Rowe, ask your question. Not just Holly, right? It wasn't like Holly, it was like Holly Rowe. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like technically in the same space as Holly Rowe. Like
my colleague, Holly Rowe, co-worker,
bestie, Holly Rowe. Yeah, that was really cool. Just to like be in proximity to such an accomplished and incredible sideline reporter.
We started like, let's just do this for fun. And now we're at Seattle Storm games feeling like absolute goofballs.
Basically.
Just, like geeking out in the media section, right? Something amazing would happen in the game. We're like, oh yeah. And then everyone else in the media, no reaction.
No reaction. So none of the other reporters, they would like have their all computers and they would just like type what was happening or just deadpan, no reaction. And it is really like, we are like the third row. It is really hard to like not react when there's a basket or a block and you're just supposed to be like,
They just start to like, let's go Storm. I was like my hands would just like come together and the clapping. And I was like, I'm supposed
the mob
to be.
mentality really like takes over. And you're like, yeah, I'm with these people.
We would love to walk you guys through what this was like. So 5:30 was supposed to be when media availability began for the Seattle Storm coaches. So we get there.
What time did we arrive?
4:10. 4:10 in the actual afternoon. There was no one at the stadium. The person that let us in the stadium was like, are you guys part of the Sue documentary? We said no, but if you give us her car keys, we'll pull the car around front, and we sure can be.
We're just here to help.
Everyone else has their equipment. We have a camera,
a microphone,
and phones. End of story. Also, everyone's in suit and ties. What are we wearing? Jeans. Very jeans. Y'all know how we love to read people for their fashion, and then we'll show up to a work event
unprepared.
Pajama boots. In walks Cheryl Reeve. There is approximately 5 actual people that are doing media the way we're doing it right now. Everyone else is just kind of like looking through photos and other things. Cheryl Reeve sits down. They give us no heads up. Cheryl Reeve walks in the room.
Questions for Coach. And we were like, who did it?
And Cheryl Reeve is notoriously just like a hard interviewer, very the Greg Popovich of it all. Mm-hmm. She walked in and I was like, start thinking of questions. And then I got to a place in my mind where I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not asking her a question right now. I'm brand new here. I already look like a fool. Look at what I'm wearing. I have no computer in front of me. Ma'am, speaking to my phone? Like, no, I was just sat there and I was like, I'm going to let Cheryl do her part and I'll know next time what to expect.
Right. Yes, this was a really great learning opportunity. No questions for Coach.
No questions for Coach. Then there was some player availability before the game as well. Tell us about the seats from the game.
So we got split access. So
ooh, that sounds fancier than it was.
It's all about framing. So it's called Reporters Row. It's about the third row from the court. And that's where I was allowed to sit. And then Hunter got beautiful.
It's called bird's eye view. That's what we would call it. Some call it bird's eyes. Some call it the nosebleeds.
You got to see everything from like a beautiful up high. You could really see the court really well.
Not everyone gets that perspective.
Not everyone gets that really, really high perspective. Anyway, Hunter came and joined me later. And so we watched, I think like the second quarter all the way on, like sitting next to each other. And so that was really fun. And just being like so close when after the warm-ups, they would run past, like they were like right there. And there were fans that would like come and stand and like take pictures and like, slap their hands. It took everything in me to not be like, Brianna's door, slap my hand.
Yeah, so it was a lot of figuring out that professionalism for us. We'll have computers and other things next time to do more.
Level up.
Said job.
Level up.
And then after the game, we were allowed to go back to the press area, and we were able to interview Noelle Quinn, the head coach first, and then a couple different players. What was your thoughts on that experience?
So I had the opportunity to ask, why did you make that coaching decision? Or ask the players, how did you feel about your new teammates? Like getting that opportunity just felt really cool and
felt like a unique experience.
Intimate too. I think that's the word I would use, because there wasn't a ton of people in there, and very unique. Yes, for sure. I worked up the courage to ask one question to one person, and that was Jewel Lloyd. Shockingly enough, we did think about what questions we would ask on the drive up to Seattle. All of my questions I knew were going to be questions that were not necessarily just about the game. I want to ask questions that are more touchy-feely, quite frankly, and so anyway, as Jewel was talking and answering another question, she talked about being able to play free and just kind of go out there and do her thing. And so I asked, what makes you able to play free? And she answered for quite a while and went off. And
no, she didn't. I'm gonna have to redact that statement, because you have your version of the story and I will have mine if you don't tell it the right way.
Because we are not professional athletes, we all had to wear masks. Everyone had to wear masks except the athletes and the coaches. So I feel like when you're talking to someone with a mask on, you have to give good eye contact.
It's the Tyra Banks of it. Smile. You have to smile.
Yes, you're smizing. And so I was making sure to do that.
All right, followers, feel this. Jewel's look at me.
Mm-hmm.
On the count of 3, you're going to look to this camera and smize for them the way you smized for Jewelz. All right? Camera, we're going to do a zoom in when this happens. Y'all get ready. Some of you may need to look away. The power of this has known to change a woman or two. Are we ready? Are there any more questions in the room? Yes, Jewelz? What question do you have?
So, Jewel, I was wondering, how do you play free?
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
It's one of those things where you're like, we could be friends, right? We should hang out, right? It's one of those things. I'm there and it's like, no, I'm just answering your question.
Stories we tell ourselves. Yeah, we left. We were like, we made so many best friends, and they were like, those 2 scrubs that were not dressed and had no equipment. Like, how did they get access back here with their phones? They were just TikToking the whole time. We got to interview Noelle, Jewel Lloyd, Breanna Stewart.
And you asked a question to all 3. How was that for you?
Well, the first one was very nerve-wracking. Just again, feeling like, what am I doing here? I tricked a lot of people to get into this position. My questions, I feel like, are more tactical. I'm really curious to know, what kind of things did you do in the off season? How was this matchup for you? So I think I asked Jewel Lloyd. She had a really good game. She looked like she was able to get any shot she wanted. What did you like a lot about this matchup tonight? I asked Breanna Stewart what she thought about the additions to this team, especially Breanna January and Gabby Williams. I'm currently just submitted a piece for Winsider about Gabby Williams and Breanna January's addition to this team, as well as Ezzy Magbagor. So I was trying to get a little bit more on that.
And we'll be sure to link to their website in the show notes below so you can check out Hunter's writing.
Oh, we'll see. So I was really curious with Seattle playing every player on their team last night, and with Mercedes Russell out right now, what was Noelle Quinn looking at with these matchups? Was she looking at different combinations of player on the floor at the same time, or what was really the incentive behind giving every player all of those minutes?
Yeah, I really wish we'd gotten another opportunity to ask Cheryl some questions, because it seemed like she made some coaching decisions to sit Sylvia Fowles, and it was like, why? We kind of wanted to know that in that first game. But we didn't get to. She didn't come back there and get hard questions from the press. Love that experience. That was our media experience. Had a great time. Very much looking forward to going to every Storm home game. I
think what just felt neat to me is you get those little things that, maybe some of those nuggets of information we got aren't they're not changing my daily life. It's really cool to know that Sue has a documentary happening about her. What that told me is this is definitely probably her last year, and this is a farewell kind of tour. That was cool to just know that kind of thing. But then also I think to see more of the players and coaches' personalities. They said more things that, just feel like we're all like you said, in this intimate space, and they can just be a little bit more. They knew a lot of the media people that were there. Yeah. Obviously not us yet. We'll get on the birthday invite list soon, but it was just cool to kind of hear a little bit more of these things that maybe we're not as privy to if you're just watching the game. And then when it goes off online, this is why we're covering this, to kind of find out some of these inside stories and scoops. So that was just really cool to kind of be there for that.
All right. So that's going to do it for episode 9, our week 1 WNBA recap. stay tuned for later this week. We're going to have a video about softball, a little quick 2-minute video about softball. We'll show you a vlog of us behind the scenes going to the Storm game because that was really fun. I'm Jewelz with Balance Sports.
And I'm Hunter.